everybody, it's Aluna Michaels, Esoteric Astrologer, coming at you to talk about the events of April 2025. Okay, so let's first talk about Neptune going into Aries, which happened on the 30th of March. Neptune changes signs about every 4. Oh, I should say that thank you to the guys at Know Thyself podcast. Sorry, I almost forgot. Thank you so much, guys. Neptune changes signs roughly once every 14 years. And now we are going to go, Neptune has been in Pisces for 14 years or so. And now Neptune will go backwards. Of course, all the planets retrograde and go direct and all that, except the sun and the moon. But Neptune will go back into Pisces for 4 months, then go back into Aries again. But it's very significant that it's already in Aries, and only 4 months isn't that long when you have an outer planet changing signs. So just to talk about a collective situation in the world. So Neptune and Pisces, one of the great things we could see, I was thinking about positive things about Neptune and Pisces. Neptune is about spiritual growth. It's about opening your heart. But it can be about being ungrounded. It can be about being taken advantage of. It can be about having not enough boundaries. You know, on one level, it opens us compassionately and spiritually and stuff, but it could also be too much and being taken advantage of, like I said. So when Neptune's in Pisces, Pisces is the planet the sign that connects with Neptune. So it's even more about being super open, you know? So some of the good things I was thinking about is, you know, awareness of mental health and people saying mental health awareness, this and that, and self-care, talking about burnout syndrome more common, and acknowledging our vulnerabilities in a way that is like, oh, we all have this. We all have stress and mental health things, or, you know. And also I think about pets. It's like, it just seems the past 14 years you have more people like pets as families, even more of a theme, or dogs going to the grocery store for a while. It seems like that's toning down. But, you know, just there's so much about our hearts opening up, you know, and being okay that our hearts are that open, you know. That's great stuff. The bad stuff could be, I was thinking, like this sort of over surrender where you just give away your instincts. You override and just go, okay, sure. You suspend judgment. And so that could leave us open for gaslighting, doubting our instincts, or just people seeing, like, again, like with what we're seeing in the United States, at least, you know, like, okay, down is up, you know, up is down, you know, we're not crashing the economy, you know, just like, okay. But I feel like that now that Neptune has gone into Aries, there's more of a sense of reclaiming intuition as a truth that's in you, instead of like, you're not really feeling that. Your Neptune and Pisces, like, oh, really? Like, and my ego's in the way, dude. And sometimes that can be good. Someone's challenging you about your inner delusion. But sometimes it's like, sometimes your instinct is right. Most of the times your instincts are right, you know? And Aries is so natural. It's so pure and instinctive, and not a lot about in the head. It's just like, you know, like the story about the emperor's new clothes. It's like, he's naked, you know? It's like, that's pretty straightforward, you know? And for people to believe what their information is coming into their bodies, to feel, ew, I don't like that, or I don't think that's right, and not to then just say, oh, well, someone said it's right, so I'm giving up, I'm over surrendering, you know? So I think this is positive about Neptune being in Aries, of saying like, that's not right. And I'm going to stick with my gut. I'm going to stick with my heart. I'm going to stick with the way my body feels. And my instinct goes, no. And I don't care who you are. It's like, no. So I think that that's hopeful for us. Anyways, okay. So there's that. But so I think the other real positive thing going on this month, and I know people hate Mercury retrograde, but it is retrograde. It was retrograding, actually, Mars and Venus retrograded in March at the same point of Aries, and they're sort of tracking each other through April and going direct at the same point in Pisces. So what's happening is that Mercury going direct on, let's see, it's April 6th, right at 24 degrees of Pisces, if you like to know that. And then Venus going direct at 26 Pisces, 24, excuse me, Mercury's 26, Venus is 24, and that will be on the 12th of April, goes direct. And then Saturn, which moves slower, is kind of pacing along with this. And Saturn is at 25 Pisces. So the Mercury Venus turn direct next to Saturn, and also the planet Uranus. Sorry, I've got something tickling my nose here. Okay, so that Uranus in Taurus also making a sextile to all three of those. Now, I hope I didn't put down about Pisces, but there's Pisces also about a sense of hope, especially if it's with Saturn, and that Mercury retrograde changing direction is again like stilling your thoughts. Venus is about feeling connected, and Saturn is again the standing with yourself. So even though they're in the sign of Pisces, it's a sense of rooting your own balance within yourself, and that Uranus is more and more people. I think it's just kind of echoing this Neptune going into Aries, even though these planets have retrograded back into Pisces, if that makes sense, because the Saturn being there, going, I trust myself, or I see people around me trusting themselves. And it does help to feel I'm in a community, a new type of community, a community where everyone's trusting themselves as opposed to giving away their judgment or feeling hopeless to gaslighting and say, we're sunk because people are gaslighting us. So what can we do? We're like beaten down, or disheartened can be a bad part of Pisces. So the shift going into Neptune going to Aries, and then these planets changing direction in Pisces with Saturn and Uranus making that supportive angle is like, I believe myself. I believe these people. I feel hope again. So I think it's a positive thing. It can really help in terms of if you need to make decisions in your life. It can really help to put you in kind of a still point of just knowing what's right for you. And then looking for clues to back up that I am right, that this is the right move, the right decision, whatever that may be about. And then the planet Mars has been retrograde. It went retrograde in early December at 5 degrees of Leo, and it backed up, and then started retrograde, went forward at the end of February. But now it's going to happen at the very end of April, is it's going to hit that 5 degrees of Leo again and start covering fresh territory. And that's always a great feeling. Mars just changing back into Leo happens in the middle of the month, like the 18th, it goes back into Leo. And that can be good. It feels like empowering, like we're getting back to where we were, and you can feel energized about a lot of different things and feel very bold and strong inside yourself, especially if there's this commitment to your own inner truth that's going on. But it's a little tricky when Mars does get to that 5 degrees because the weekend of the 25th, 26th, Mars is going to oppose Pluto. And Mars it can be about not just feeling confident stuff, it can be about anger, it can be built up tension. When it opposes Pluto's power issues. And Mars opposed Pluto the first time in this retrograde cycle, a few days into November. And then the second time it opposed in the retrograde opposition was on New Year's Eve, when they had that guy drove into all the people in New Orleans, and then the other guy blew himself up in the car, the Tesla, in Vegas. It was crazy Mars opposed Pluto stuff. But it can be a tense time. And also the Sun in Taurus will be squaring the Mars and the Pluto. There's a little dicey there. And, be careful if you're out at protests or just doing anything with big crowds, and it just seems like read the situation with that. I don't usually talk about danger stuff, but it's not the greatest thing. But it also helps people to feel empowered. So it could be this, again, more of this movement towards being empowered, being able to fight back against things. And that can be on a political level or inside yourself. It can be really good for self-confrontation and not bludgeoning yourself and picking on yourself, but saying, if there's a part of yourself that wants to, send you in the wrong direction, if it's about addiction, whether it's addictive substances, addictive negative mindset, there's something about like, no, you won't, I'm not going to go down that path. I'm not going to listen to that part of me that's tricking me. like this little inner demon or something. And it can be good for pushing against a force like that within yourself, you know? And again, you've got this whole month of trusting yourself. And then this other part's like, well, why don't you just do that over there? It's like, that's never taken me the right way. No, I won't do it, you know? So it can be this powerful self-assertion during that time at the end of April. But just collectively, we need to kind of be careful, right? Those few days there, like the 25th, maybe 24th, well, yeah, 24th to the 28th. I think the exact opposition is the 25th, but sometimes Mars sets off a few days early. So just being vigilant around that time about things, especially if it's people like to protest on the weekends and stuff. So, but I think overall this month is really uplifting, and it's nice that, you know, in certain parts of the country it's getting warmer, and you feel like spring is really coming, and there's hope, and you know, just connecting with people again after a cold winter up north and stuff. So I feel like all that's really good. But this idea of trusting ourselves and, you know, trusting what seems obvious is part of Aries. It's like sometimes the simplest answer is the answer. Whereas, you know, when it's too much Pisces for too long, it's like you're looking for the meaning and this, and, you know, there's a hidden message. It's like sometimes the message is Aries saying that. You know, so and then again, as Mercury goes direct with Venus in Pisces, but Saturn's there, it's like trust yourself, and keep things simple, and see maybe the simple answer is right there, and recommit to your heart, you know, in a different way that Pisces is commit or something, whereas Aries is like commit to the heart, you know. So we'll talk more about in May. Saturn's going into Aries for a while, and it'll go back into Pisces, but it's again bringing up that sense of taking energy you've given out wrong types of loyalty or belief and pulling it back in and saying, does that situation need my unconditional surrender to it, or does it not deserve that? You know, whatever that is, a belief system about yourself or the world or anything. It's a great time to like bring it into your heart, check back in and say, is it safe to blend into this situation, or do I need to step back and say, I don't like that, you know? I'm not helpless. And so that's the thing, we have too much of this Neptune with Pisces. It creates a sense of helplessness and like I said, over surrender. So to be able to reacclimate with your inner voice is going to be just really powerful for a lot of people. And yeah, so okay, so if you want a session with me, you know where to find me, I guess. You can call my number at 248-583-1663 or text there. Sometimes I have trouble seeing the YouTube comments, so don't ask me your session there. Call me or go to my website, alunamichaels.com. I've got my book on my website too. You could get on Amazon, little booklet kind of thing. Don't want to oversell it as a book, but little helpful tips for different signs. It's called The Spiritual Gifts of the 12 Astrological Signs. So, okay. Let's enjoy April and feel refreshed and renewed and recommitted to our individual hearts and truth, and see where we go from there. So, okay, so bye-bye for now. See you next month.